Welcome back to IVF Parent. My name is Stephanie Caballero, and today I'm so excited to sit down with Kiki and Bree from Prevail Surrogacy Consulting, not an agency. These gals are phenomenal. Together, they have birthed five children via surrogacy. So they are amazing gestational carriers. They also have a background in doula. So that is helping women give birth. I know I talk of them as if they're one person. It is Kiki and it is Bree. Kiki Bartlett and Bree Gadet. Hope I'm saying that right. So we're going to get to know their story, what inspired them to build Prevail, which is something different, and how they support both intended parents and gestational carriers through the matching, screening, logistics, and just the everyday steps of the surrogacy journey. So, welcome back, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks as always for being here. All right, so I'm so excited to meet you, Kiki and Bree, Kiki Bartlett and Bree Gadet. Did I do that right?
Yes.
All right. And you are from Prevail Consulting. So tell everybody about it. I'm super excited. When I met you guys, I was like, I need to have you on my podcast.
So we have worked in the industry and we wanted to create Prevail with things that we have seen in the industry, ways that we wanted to correct things in the industry and, just make Prevail unique and stand out. So we have different tiered packages so that it's more affordable for the intended parents, but it's also more customizable for the intended parents based on the support that they want out of their journey. So we created Prevail and, just trying to get our grounding and
right.
Start this process.
Because you do something different. You're not an agency. And the intended parents and the surrogate have met. They have matched, right? And then you kind of take over, from what I understand. Or do you do the matching and then they do? Yeah, you explain it better than I do.
They don't have to be matched to start the process with us. So
Okay.
whether a surrogate comes to us first or an intended parent, we will help them make sure that they're ready for this and that they're qualified, and then provide them all the resources and the education and their profile. Like, we do all these things to get them the best foot ready to find their match. And then there's lots of different Facebook groups that we can direct them to find their match. And then they come back to us and we'll vet them and carry on just like an agency. We just don't find that match because we don't want to limit them based on our limited pool of potential matches.
And that's how I think you guys are so unique and so positioned, because there's over 400 agencies. We've talked about this before. So no one needs another agency, in my opinion. So, right. And then you're right. There are all these Facebook groups because I think the surrogates are overwhelmed on what agency to go to. I'm in a lot of them, not all of them, because I have a day job, so I don't have time. But I see the frustration, especially for first time surrogates. Like, where do I go? What agency? Or this agency dropped me, and one today said, I don't know why. I think it was my BMI. My BMI is 34, but they didn't tell me. And I asked them again when they had a phone call with me, and they still didn't tell me. And so I'm like, the poor girl is now lost. This was her agency. She did all the research for a year, and now she's back at square one. And I think that's really hard for surrogate. And I know it's hard. This is why I started at IVF parent, because I know it's hard for intended parents. Like, where do they go? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we want to be fully transparent and provide all the resources, even if it's not with Prevail. We want them to have their best journey possible.
Yep. So they'll connect with you, and tell me about like your package one, two, and three. It briefly, right? Like, what will you do for if I'm like, oh, I don't need that much support. I've got it. I've done like a year, 2 years, 3 years research, or I need like middle support, or I'm sorry, I'm lost. I need full support.
Yeah, so we have three different packages that we offer. Our most basic is the Roots, and that one is basically from the time of matching up through confirmation of pregnancy, that confirmation of heartbeat. And now with more clinics requiring an agency or some kind of
Hard.
guidance to the process, like we're able to provide that when it's needed. And then you guys just get to enjoy the rest of your journey together. And then we have our second package, which is Bud, and Bud is a little bit more in depth. It goes through the birth of the child, so you get more help, with legal. Well, we don't do legal, but guidance in the process
Right, but
as the pregnancy continues.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then we have the Bloom package, and that goes through the 6 months postpartum, and that one's all encompassing, more like an agency. So there's a little bit more to that one as far as like the support and the guidance that's given, but we understand that not everybody needs full support or full guidance. And so it's not, fair for intended parents to have to pay for a full agency if they're not necessarily needing the full agency.
Right. And why 6 months? Because I know there's the fourth trimester. I've been
Yes.
educated by the Facebook groups because I had my own surrogacy. I never got out of my first trimester, so I had not a clue. But when I read about it, I was like, that makes total sense. Why am I surprised? I mean, you have created a human being in your body, and of course, your body is going to go through all these changes, and some of them you're going to be like, what's going on? I hate this.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So during the fourth trimester, so to speak, of the postpartum period, um, not only is there all the hormonal changes and life changes that happen during that time, but there's still a lot of things wrapping up with like escrow and medical bills. And so we just
Um,
like to make sure that we're still providing support.
yeah,
And I know a lot of times contracts will state, like updates as far as like 3 months and 6 months updates that the intended parents are supposed to provide. And so we also provide a service of like helping continue a relationship and just seeing, is a surrogate getting updates? Would she like to get updates? Can we help try to initiate that with the intended parents? And so it just kind of helps end that in a well-rounded way instead of just, all right, you've had the baby, we're done.
that makes sense because I know I hold money in trust. I know I've been with the surrogates and the intended parents. I don't really have a lot of contact with them, but you're right. After the hormonal thing, but then there's all the medical bills that come in, all that other stuff, escrow. I mean, for us, we usually maintain it obviously for a year because as you know,
Yeah.
I remember getting a bill from the hospital for my children a year later. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, I can't bill anybody a year later, but you can bill me. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I
We
heard
call
one,
those the ghost bills.
Yeah.
right? And so I've heard 2 years at one time, two
Yeah.
to 3 years. I'm like, no, there should be a limit. It should be a
There
limit.
should.
Yes. And then now that we've briefly explained what you guys do, um, uh, I'd like to know your background because I think it's how long you've been in the industry. I think you've both been surrogates, so you've seen it. Yes. How about you go first, Kiki?
Yeah. So I thought I was done with my family building. I looked into surrogacy. I did it one time for a single male in New York, and then kept referring people to the agency that I went through and like, you guys should just put me on your payroll. So I got a job. I got started with this agency. I was a surrogate coordinator. I did all of the intake stuff for the surrogates. I followed through the entire journey. I did a lot of the events and the marketing. And that really got I've always been shy. That really broke my shell and I found my purpose, right? Found my passion in life and it
I would
was
never peg you for a shy person.
oh yes,
Seriously.
yes.
Yes.
Yep, I was made fun of in high school for being so shy. And now I'm like openly talking about surrogacy. Like, don't get me started because then I will just talk your ear off about surrogacy.
If they could
But
see you now. Yeah.
I know. And then I started working for another agency just to get some more background, and
Yeah.
then I did a lot of the surrogate engagement, making sure that everybody felt the support that they needed. And that's where I again saw a lot of what was lacking in the industry and quit that job and started Prevail.
Because you wanted to do it better and you worked for the agencies, you definitely know what the surrogates and also intended parents, but um, um, Yeah, both sides need support, but the surrogate
Yeah.
is the pregnant person. I like to tell my intended parents, when they say sometimes it's all about her, I'm like, well, yeah, it is, and it's gonna be, and your time will come when your baby's born. Is essentially what I tell them. Your job is to fund the escrow, be nice to her, support her. It's typically my intended mothers who are slightly jealous. I was not. Mine, it was almost an 8-year journey for me. A baby could have fallen out of the sky, and I would have said, "Great, great, that's my baby." So I was, and my clients have asked me sometimes, "Were you jealous, or when you were jealous?" And I said, "I was never jealous of my surrogate." But it really is. I mean, the surrogate, as I like to say, is growing a human. So, you know, just sit down and give her a minute, right? All right, Bree. So tell me your background.
So after I had my children, I started my first journey, and that's actually where I met Kiki when she was working for an agency. She helped me with my first journey, and I absolutely fell in love with it. After that,
Oh,
I did a second journey that was actually independent. I just decided to part ways with the agency due to differences. And after an independent journey, I was like, that was a lot of work, even though I've done this before. And I
yes.
like there was a lot of difficult things. And so I told myself I would not do another independent journey because of that. And so I went to another agency, which I actually worked for at the time. And my third and final journey was actually the same intended parent that Kiki had for her first journey. And so
Wait.
did like a sibling journey between the
Oh
two of
my
us.
gosh. So
So
you guys have
yeah,
each had oh, I love that.
yeah.
I love
Forever
So
that.
connected by the womb.
You are. It's like a little pyramid or whatever.
yeah.
Oh my
So it
God.
was great. It was a lot of support
Yeah.
from Kiki, even though she wasn't my case manager. She was there for the birth, she was there for the transfer, milestones throughout the pregnancy. So it was a lot of fun to just have that connection and just further our relationship. And so
A hundred
after
percent.
that journey, we were like, all right, like let's do this. Let's start our own and just, you know, fix some of the problems that we've seen in the industry and how we
Yeah.
can continue to help intended parents.
I have to say you said something, lots of things were interesting, but the fact that an independent journey, because people think that, and I see that when the surrogates are like, I didn't get picked, my agency said I couldn't move forward with them. And then I love the gals who say, listen, that's just one agency. I know it was your favorite, but there's many clinics, many agencies,
Yeah.
um, but then they just say, why don't you just go indie? And independent journeys, because as an attorney, and then with the clinic, the intended parents expect us to be an agency, and I'm not an agency. Yeah, I know you need a calendar, I know you need meds, travel, no, I cannot. I don't know how to do all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's so many aspects of the journey that it's hard to manage on your own, that it's
uh,
really beneficial to have somebody there
1000%.
supporting.
But then agencies are, I know that it's expensive right now. IVF is so expensive in the US. And if somebody wants a complete US journey, that's why I think it's so great that you guys are an option for people. Like they can get the support that they need, that they sometimes don't realize they need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But at half the cost.
Half the cost. Yes. So that is the beautiful part about it. So I love that. And then for me, I can say, can you go see them? Because it's going to be way better for you and way better for me and way better for the clinic. Right? I seriously, I have to remember when I went from IVF to surrogacy. I thought, how hard could it be? Sort of like you, Brie. I've done this before. How hard can it be? And even just that jump, which IVF with another person, surrogacy, I felt like, and then of course I was independent. This is 100 years ago, though. I was independent, and I just felt like I followed my doctor around. He loved me because he'd been with me for so long and seen all the things I went through. So I think I wasn't so annoying, but um, I just had to ask him questions because I didn't know. He's like, "Well, you need to get insurance and life insurance, and then you need to do this." And I was like, "Ah," like, right? I was like, I had a clue. And then I didn't know, and I just assumed that every state had disability. So when she had to go out on leave, I said, well, disability will pay 60% of your salary. Oh no, she was in Oregon. They don't have state disability. I was like, okay, we will be paying your lost wages on our own. Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a huge expense that you're not prepared for.
You're not prepared for. But then at least with you guys, either you can give them options. Like there was no insurance rider. Now there's insurance riders you can purchase for childcare and lost wages and housekeeping, which I
Yep.
do tell my independent couples about when they talk to me about all those things. Because again, there's no agency. See, I'm just going to send them to you.
We'll help answer all those
You'll
questions.
help answer all those questions, yes. So you work with, if a surrogate wants to work with you, can you just work directly with the surrogate? It's really intent of parent driven, right? I mean, obviously you're working with both sides, but for sure not independent, independent, IPs driven, like the parents driven. They're your clients, right?
Yes, but we support both sides. So a
Absolutely.
surrogate can start with us just the same as an intended parent. So we provide the matching direction and the education, and they're finding a match. So it can be a surrogate starting with us, or it can be an intended parent, just
Yeah,
the
that's
same.
what you said before. So it's both sides. So that's,
Yep,
yeah. But then the fee is paid by the either the surrogate or the intended parent, right? No, mostly by the intended parent, right?
the intended parents, correct.
Yeah. But they'll probably like that. As two former surrogates, and then of course the kids that you have together. Okay, how old are those kids that for the parents that you did?
My child is 7. Andy is 7.
And the sister Rhea, she is 1.
Wow, that's a long time in between. They had a 7-year-old and they or 6-year-old, and they said, "Oh, let's go again."
Well, it's a
Usually,
single dad, so it's a hard endeavor just with one
never
child.
mind, never mind. Yep. He had to get through all that, all the sleepless night, all the diapers, and then say, do I really want to do that again? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good for him. Good for him, right? Yeah,
Yep.
so I see why you're just like, no, we take surrogates, we take, right? We just don't do the match, right? We'll help support you, but we don't, will you go find yourself on, is there any other place besides Facebook where people find matches? Do you
I
know?
think Facebook is going to be the primary method that we are using right now
Yeah.
because everybody's on Facebook. And there's so many different matching groups that there's so much potential just in that pool.
You are absolutely right. I think matching groups are done by country and then state in the United States, at least as far as I can see. So there has to be over 50 matching Facebook groups, at
Easily.
least.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to surrogates if they when they're starting out and they want to be a surrogate? Because like you said, like I said, this poor surrogate who had, done all her research and then, you know, obviously we want them to come to you, but just advice on what to do because there's just so much out there and, unfortunately some of them get stuck with the wrong agency. And it might even be a good agency, it's just the wrong one for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not going to feel the same connection with one agency over another. So I always encourage research. Do as much research as you can. There's never too much research because you're asking all these different questions. You're going to get a different answer from one agency versus another. So, I mean, it's just important to vet anybody and ask those questions and find all those resources so that you know who is going to be the best fit, whether it's by personality or the support that you're given. I mean, there's so many different factors that go into it, but
There are like, the surrogate's age, her background. I know there's discussion now about because in New York, the surrogate can be on financial aid. Yes. And I know that's been like a no-no for years and years and years. But when it was presented to me, they said, listen, if she's stable, right? She's hasn't had, 25, you know, places in 6 months, right? She's permanent home, she's getting financial support, but she's stable. She has a good support system. She passes the psych, background check, all the things. New York law felt it was fine. She could be a surrogate. So how do you guys feel about that? Would you take a surrogate who's receiving financial support, but she's stable, passes the background check, you know, has a good
Well,
support system?
to start off, since we aren't an agency, we don't really take a pool of surrogates. So we do
No,
make
you
sure
don't,
that they
but the
meet, yeah,
matching, like if
yeah.
they if
So
they
we do make
match,
sure they meet the ASRM guidelines and that they are, within the certain legalities of their the state that they live in. But where some agencies might have restrictions beyond the ASRM guidelines, like some will only take certain, they might lower their age or their BMI to fit their clientele of intended parents. We don't
yeah,
do that.
Yeah.
And I understand that, if you're on the financial aid through this, through the state, then you're not financially stable, so to speak. But in a situation where if she's a single mom and she has a couple kids and she's working a full-time job and she's not receiving child support, I can see how it'd be hard to make ends meet.
like right?
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe surrogacy is wanting to also give a family, these intended parents the gift of a child, but also help prepare and set her children up for a better future at the same time. And so that might be her way of trying to get out of the financial assistance needed. So,
Yep. That's what I say. I'm like, listen, if she's a single mom with two or three kids and she's not getting child support,
yeah,
but she's working full time and she's getting, like in California, you can get health care for your kids, and that's considered financial support. The issue for us attorneys is that, we don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the children. Like they're getting, healthcare, right? And what are they getting? So if she gets this extra income, what is that going to do to all the support? So
mhm,
that's how I look at it. But I look at it just like you said, Bree, like I think it should be a case by case basis as to what kind of support she's getting, what's the situation.
yeah,
And I don't think it should just be 100% blanket no. I think, you just look at it as like that. I do have to say, I think age matters.
yeah.
It does.
It does. Like, does ASRM says 21, right?
For the minimum,
Yes, yeah.
yes.
Have you ever, I can't recall working with a 21-year-old surrogate. I mean,
I don't think
I
I
have
have.
before, but
It,
it's more again case by case. You got to dig into it, and
should,
because they might have a different story, might have a different background, that they're more mature and they don't act like they're 21. But that's prime time for the party stage, and we just want to make
yeah.
sure that they're past that, and we're not going to have any worry of drinking during the pregnancy. So age
Oh,
is a huge factor.
yeah, drinking is not a good thing during the pregnancy. I'm just
No,
gonna
let's
say.
not do that.
No, not at all. I do have I have had a young surrogate and I definitely can tell the difference. You know,
yeah,
very, very thoughtful, the questions and everything, but I definitely can tell the difference that, she is on the younger side, and I was like, whoa, you are really young. I mean, the pregnancy has gone well, but there's had some issues, not any of her dealing, but she is advocating really well for herself, for sure. But that it's very young. So, but I can see how she would pass it for sure, pass the psych screening, all the screenings. But that's definitely, yeah, yeah. But ASR guidelines, for those people who don't know, wait, is it American Reproductive Science?
American Society for Reproductive
Yeah,
Medicine.
I can never, I always just say ASRM. So when I have to
I
say
know.
it out, I always go, my brain just goes, what is that? Yeah. Yeah, so they have the guidelines for sure. So I'm glad that you follow them. I do think case by case basis for surrogates and definitely look at all those factors and everything. And then for intended parents, like, you know, any advice for them? I mean, I think I don't know who has a harder time for them. Obviously, I want them to come see you for sure. Yes.
Again, research. Um, Whether they want the full package and they feel like they're going to get more with an agency. I never want to steer people in a specific direction. Of course, I want them to come to us, but I want them to have the best journey possible. So, making sure that we're meeting what their needs are and asking the
Mhm.
right questions, making sure that they're mentally, financially, all the things prepared.
Yeah, because some people just, an agency is out of reach or they have the bandwidth. They can like, I'm gonna go find my match, but I need help here. That's why I think you guys is so great. For sure. That's what I think you're offering, and I'm sure you're on all the Facebook groups. Have you guys announced yourself there? I'm probably not in all of them that you're because you get to be in more than I do because as an attorney, I'm limited. They're like, no, we don't want you.
Yeah. Some of them, it's really there's just so many restrictions on an agency representative itself within those groups that we're kind of more in the background and being really selective on what we're participating in those groups
Yeah,
because we don't want to be kicked out. We don't want to lose that potential to have this
yeah,
resource.
yeah. I'm
So
sort of a
we
lurker
have it
too.
some.
I'm a lurker too, in a lot of them, especially if it's for the surrogate ones, because not having been a surrogate and then I get to learn. So, if they go through a tough time, I just do the little heart or the little care, but I'm not going to offer any advice. Like, no, I'm not for sure. And I do get that because there are a lot of rules for people that don't know and they want to join. Follow the rules because I got to tell you, those admins will kick you out. Like
Absolutely.
that for
Yep.
sure. Yeah. But I think for the independent matching ones, obviously that's a perfect place for you guys to be. But of course, following the rules, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you said something interesting too, which I think more and more people are surprised, is that IVF centers will not work with a surrogacy cycle unless they have somebody helping them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too much work for them. They're not an agency, and so we can just send them my law office to you and say, have you ever thought about having somebody just coordinate and help you now that you've been matched?
Yeah. And I
Right?
think it's also important to have some protection for both sides there because you always hear about the stories of surrogates who go rogue or, back out last minute after receiving compensations or faking pregnancies while independent journeys. And you just get a lot of things like that that are kind of scary. So having somebody there to kind of help along the process and provide a little bit of protection in that is good to have.
I think that's such a good thing that you brought up because, obviously with what's happened in the industry over the past year, we don't really want to focus on the negative, but it does happen, especially for independent journeys. Yes, there can be issues with agencies, but agencies do a lot more vetting, right? Because they can, right? They do they go over the profile, they have the interview, they get the medical records sent to them. So, they send it off or they send it, directly to the clinic. So there's no middleman. The surrogate isn't handing over the medical records, right?
Yeah.
So I think, for the one independents, you have to be more careful. And that is what I tell them. Listen, there's some good matches on there, but you know, you've gotta be careful. So, and there are people who scam, which I hate that for people that are desperate to have a baby. I think it's the one of the worst things you can do. You've worked with the intended parents, like you know how long they've worked, no matter if they go through infertility or not, it's still going through this process is a struggle. It's a lot of work, right? So
Yeah.
to get scammed is awful. And I'm sure you've met them. The people, the
Yeah.
intended parents, not the surrogates. No. They could be in Russia, which sometimes they probably are, right? Goodness, yeah. I know when I started out, there was the scam where, they started to take the ultrasound pictures, and pull them off the web or wherever and just say, see, I'm pregnant. And then you're right, they get their payment and then they ghost them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have an agency. They don't have support. They don't have somebody like you that can like manage that for sure.
which
Yeah.
is something that we can also offer. So if they don't want to do any of our packages, then they're like, nope, we got this. But they want the extra backing if there is any conflicts or if they need that support on a whim, and we do offer a support and conflict resolution package. So
Oh,
that is an option that they can choose if they don't want any of the packages, that they still have that guidance should anything happen.
oh, so I'm sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this because some people just insist that they can do it on their own. But if there's an issue, you know who they call. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go, hey, I know somebody who can resolve this for sure. Hmm. I'm working
We
with a
still
case.
might
Go on.
we still might need legal assistance, but we want to be able to
Of course.
offer a third party who is non-biased on either side that can offer some insight.
Yes, because it's just out of we can only do so much as a law office. You know, my colleagues and I were like, we're not mental health professionals. Like, and we've never done agency coordination. Yes, I could probably muddle my way through, especially since I had personal experience, but and then conflict resolution. I mean, our job as an attorney is to go to the contract. And are you in breach? Is she in breach? What type of breach? Can she cure it? Do we send a breach letter? And sometimes you can resolve it by what you guys do, which is a form of mediation. Let's talk it right. Let's conflict resolution. Let's do that.
Yes. But
Yeah.
when a that is chosen with us, it's not a one and done. It's you pay the one time and you get it for the journey. So if they come to us at match or if they come to us, at the end of the first trimester and they're like, we just need a little extra support, we're having some difficulties or some conflicts, then when they sign up and do that with us, then they get it for the remainder of their journey. So
Oh, I love that. I love that you keep saying remainder of the journey. But if they pick the package where they just want you in the beginning, that's fine. But right, the remainder of the journey for the conflict resolution, because you're right. Usually, if they have a little issue, sometimes it just doesn't go away.
yeah. And
But
it's hard to
continue.
like, as a surrogate, it's hard to tell your intended parents, some things. And as an intended parent, it may be hard to ask your surrogate to do something or ask them a question. And so, um,
Mhm.
I know when I was independent, my husband had to do a lot of that for me. And so thankfully he stepped up and he did some of those hard things, but he shouldn't had to like do conflict resolution in my journey for
No.
me. And so we just kind of really realized that it's important to have that during an independent journey because some of them are beautiful and they don't have any problems, but then you might have some where something comes up and you're just like, well, maybe we do need a third person or a third party to kind of step in and help us resolve this. And
It's
so
very, we're all people. It's run by people. It's very human. It's biology. There's going to be some issue that comes up no matter what it is, small, large, that needs to be resolved. Because the intended parents are different, the surrogate's different. It's how you handle it. I
yeah.
always tell the story that my surrogate, she doesn't even know this. I don't know if I told you guys, because she was single. I mean, her mom and brother lived like down the street, like 2 minutes away. She had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and then she gets a cat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like 2-year-old and 4-year-old cannot clean out the cat litter. And there's no way she had an automatic cat litter cleaning box. And it was a stray cat, so it kind of just found her. So she goes, oh, she's so excited. Oh, Stephanie, I got a cat. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's cleaning the cat litter. My kids are going to be brain damaged. This is just awful. I just want to like rip into her, not rip into her, but like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what are you doing? You can't have a cat. I just go,
Yeah.
oh, that's so awesome. And by the way, who's doing the cat litter? Because, you can't do that when you're pregnant. And, we didn't test for the antibodies, so who knows, right? So she goes, because I don't think that test existed. Because remember, dark ages, my kids are in their 20s. I know, I would say it's the dark ages of surrogacy. Well, there was no day 5 or 6, no blastocysts, no PGT. Like it's amazing any of us ever got pregnant. I am not going to lie. Seriously. When I look at like the success rates back then, I'm like, how did I even pay for IVF like 500 times? Right. But she goes, "Oh no, I would never do that, Stephanie. I didn't do it when pregnant with my kids. I would never do it. I'm not cleaning out the cat litter." I'm thinking, well, who is? I mean, your mom and your brother don't live with you. You have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I know your 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. Your 4-year-old's kind of chill, but your 2-year-old is like balls on wheel. I mean, that kid never sat down. So I'm like adorable, but never sat down. So I'm like, oh, so we talked every Sunday because again, I had internet, I had email, and she did not. Adorable. She was mailing me pictures of the ultrasounds. Yeah, dark ages. And so then she tells me, maybe a month later, oh, Stephanie, I have some really bad news. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And she goes,
Yeah.
the cat ran away. The kids were so sad. I'm like, oh, I'm so sad for you. And then I get on the phone. I'm like, yes. But I didn't yell at her. Right? Nobody told me because
Yeah.
I didn't have counseling. Because back then you did. I didn't have to, which I should have. It's not counseling. Let's just say something. It's when an intended parent goes, it's to prepare them for the surrogacy journey because they are dealing with another person who is creating a human being, maybe two, but no more than two, and only if the embryo splits. So,
Yes.
right? So, but I just knew not to lay into her. I just knew, like, let's just handle this calmly. But oh my gosh, seriously. And that's the thing that people don't understand. There's going to be things that come up. It's just how you handle them in a
Yeah.
surrogacy.
And you
'Cause
don't want to seem overbearing or that you're trying to control the entire journey. So it's a delicate line to
it
walk.
is a delicate line. And I think sometimes intended parents can be a little overbearing because they feel like I love Bree's laughing because they feel like it's their baby and they're paying. I'm there to say, like I always say, your turn comes when the baby's born. And, she knows what she's doing. She's done this before. So we need to trust her. And again, growing a human in your body, right? So that's what you guys are for, to advocate for her. Now, there are some surrogates who have no problems getting on the phone and saying, hello.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is a balance. And I think people don't realize that. We've got a lot of things going on, a lot of people. It's a whole big village for sure. Yeah. So, Kiki, when was your last journey? How long ago?
I delivered December of 2020.
Right before everything went
Yes.
pandemic. You were
Yep.
lucky. And then Bree, when did your last? Oh, recently.
November of 2024, right?
Yes,
Wow.
she's one.
Yes.
Wow, you're looking good.
Thank you.
Seriously. Yes. Do you hate when people say, "Did you get your body back, both of you?" Do you hate that?
I never bounced back.
Yeah.
I wish I had that type of body, but no, I had to work for it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking all those changes, like it's just not going to be the same, like ever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is a little bit difficult in a sense of like if you were to see Kiki and I out with our families, like I only have two children and Kiki has three. So somebody like you have two kids in a body like that, but it's like, oh no, no, honey, this is a five baby body. Like this has brought five babies into the world. Like I'm proud of what
Wow.
I've done, but I am not back in shape.
No. And then Kiki, you've had 4 or 5 too. How many?
5 babies total. Two were Suro babies, and then I
Zero
have three
babies.
keepers.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, 10 babies between you guys,
Yeah.
like, yeah. Whatever the body ends up being is what the body ends up being.
Yeah.
I know some surrogates who go, yeah, I'm saving up for a mommy and me makeover. I'm like, okay. But some, it's not their thing,
Yeah.
right? No judgment, no shame. If you want to get it, you totally get it, right? For sure. But I think now we have to start talking about, let's not talk about the bouncing back because right? It's hard work. And and usually when you look at those women who have bounced back, they're usually like influencers or stars, and then you're like, did you have a little help? Hmm. I did have one friend, not gonna lie, two. One had three babies, one had two, and I'm gonna swear there was no plastic surgery involved, and they looked like they had not delivered any kids on their stomachs. Yeah, lucky women, those women, for
Good
sure.
genetics.
Yes.
It's just genetics. You're absolutely right. I looked at their stomach because I was like, wow, that is impressive for sure. But,
Yeah.
right, it's all different for sure. Yep. All right, guys, any last words? This has been so much fun. I could talk to you forever.
I know it's awesome talking to you. Um, I what is your personal experience becoming a parent through surrogacy, and how would you approach your work as an attorney?
So my personal experience, obviously, I went through a journey and I went through the surrogacy, so that does influence how I approach it with surrogates and with intended parents. So for surrogates, if I'm going to represent a surrogate, right? I think my job is to keep them safe. So, especially for my first time surrogates, because it's overwhelming, but even my repeat surrogates, right? So, I talk about the meds. It's a little bit of a different discussion. Usually, the repeat surrogates go, okay, this benefit package doesn't have X, Y, and Z. You guys know, like, what you're looking for, and if the contract doesn't have it, you know. Right? Like, I had one repeat surrogate who is in Oklahoma and she's in the tri-state, so she goes to Texas, and I think agencies in this was a California attorney or California agency, they didn't know that. Like California is just one big huge state and nobody, if you're going, maybe they go to Arizona for their kids' soccer, but other than that, you're pretty much
Yeah.
staying in the state. And so her kids do sports. So that was such a battle, but I'm there to protect her. So I got her what she needed for that. I definitely talked to them about the meds. A lot of times they ask me because they know I've been through the meds. So that's how I approach it. For my intended parents, they kind of love that I'm not kind of, they do love that I was an intended parent. So they definitely do feel that I have that bond with them. I can talk about my journey and how that went, and I give them guidance on, I mean, how else do I say this sometimes? Like how not to be an asshole, like how not to yell at your surrogate for getting a cat. Right? Right? I mean, because I
Been through
tell
it.
them you don't want to unnecessarily strain the relationship. You just don't. If it's over something now obviously, if it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a surrogate that, yeah, she was on drugs. Long time ago, people, long time ago. Independent journey. There was nothing like you guys around. Oh wait, no, I think it was agency. Oh my God. Yeah, it was so much work with that surrogate. But yeah, so I definitely do because it's a different consult, obviously with intended parents as it is with a surrogate. Surrogate has so
Absolutely.
much in the contract to do and not do. Essentially the intent of parents are treat her well and fund your trust, right? I mean, we manage the parentage order. We kind of monitor that. The agency monitors that. So that's kind of what we do, and the intent of parents obviously need to communicate as well with her. But the surrogate, I mean, has a lot to do in the contract and a lot not to do,
Yes.
for sure. Yeah. So that's what I do for them. I do prepare my intended parents that surrogates travel. They think you don't go anywhere. Not gonna lie.
It's highly probable you will have to travel.
Correct. And you travel on your own, like kids events or family reunions, or you have this cruise booked or this vacation booked. It's funny that they think that you guys don't go anywhere. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I find that really. I have to educate. Yeah, she travels. So let's be prepared for maybe a change. And she might have a family member, so she might not like the restrictions. So just be prepared, dear intended parent. That may come back with a change. And then sometimes I say, and sometimes she does work out. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes they do work out. So but the travel thing it's the first, almost the first thing I go to with the surrogate because there's inevitably there's going to be a change in that section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live like 40 minutes. I'm on the edge of Washington, so I'm 40
See?
minutes from Idaho, and I'm
Yep.
always telling the surrogates on the border states, I'm like, you
Yep.
need to change this because
And they don't know.
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't know. So that's when I do a surrogate and I'm like, okay, what do your kids do? Where are you traveling? It's like the one of the first things I do. Obviously, we go over a lot more, but yeah, they and the border states, that's what they need you for is to say, listen,
yeah,
because you want to go to as much as you want to go to with your kids because you're going to be restricted because you're carrying somebody else's baby, right? All right, guys. Anything else?
I think so.
When you started your personal journey, there was one agency, correct?
One agency on the internet.
And
Yes.
now there's 400.
Over 400. Yes. It was the Center for Surrogate Parenting. Yes. There was more. Karen told me there was more. She was the former owner. I say her name wrong all the time, but it's Cisnayu. It's really hard to pronounce. Um, and she started with Bill Handel, and it was the only one on the internet. One. Isn't that right? Now there's
And now
over.
surrogacy has just grown so much.
It has grown so much, and there definitely is more of a need. I think, single men are, they can't find a partner for whatever reason. Single women, and then, women are waiting longer to have babies because they're
Yeah,
having a career. So I think all that contributes. And then most of the world, obviously, it's not legal. So they're coming here. But isn't that funny? One, when I was looking, yeah.
yeah,
Wouldn't that be lovely if there was like not over 400? Sorry, other agencies, but it's a lot. It's a lot for surrogates and intended parents. It's like
yeah.
hard.
That's why we wanted to do something different
That's
to
why,
stand out.
yes, that's why you're here because you're filling a need. There's
Yeah,
a need because more people are going independent. And so that is a really big need. And I love that. I love that about you guys. Like when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, love this.